Hello, this is Haider Al-Musawi from personalgrowthmap.com. In the previous videos of the series, we looked at the theory behind the self-image and how the self-image can act as an obstacle in our way to personal transformation. In this video, I'll be presenting you with practical steps you can take to abandon the self-image and hopefully experience a personal transformation of your own. Before I do that, let's recap some of the points I've covered in the previous videos. The self-image is the impression we have of ourselves based on our own thinking, other people's impressions of us, and our past experiences. The self, on the other hand, is who we are as individual human beings, possessing free will, with the ability to think and learn, experience emotions, and initiate action. With a negative self-image, we limit ourselves without tapping into our potential. With a positive self-image, we pretend we can do what we can't and blame our circumstances or those around us when we don't get the results that match our own impression of ourselves. With both a negative and a positive self-image, we are constantly judging ourselves and our self-worth based on the decisions we make and the results we get. We constantly ask ourselves, what does this say about me? Or what will people think of me if they found out? As though a single incident or even a behavioral pattern defines who we are, or other people's impressions of us dictate what we're capable of achieving and becoming. The self-image is an illusion because we are capable of making decisions, given our free will, without having to default to past choices or trying to meet our own or other people's expectations of us. With the self-image, we ask ourselves, if I was me, what would I do? And act accordingly. This is why we get stuck in the same old routines without changing. And when we do experience some change, any setback gets us to think, who am I kidding? This isn't me, and return to our old ways. To experience a personal transformation and to break out of your old habits, you need to abandon the self-image, and you're about to find out an effective way to doing that. Once upon a time, I was sitting at a Caribou cafe, sipping a mint condition, my favorite coffee, and trying to develop a holistic understanding of personal growth and how it ties into my thoughts about human nature. As a holistic thinker, I'm interested in the relationships between different topics and aren't satisfied with understanding topics in isolation. How is leadership tied to productivity, and productivity tied to motivation, and motivation tied to happiness, and happiness tied to relationships, and relationships tied to spirituality, and so on? While trying to come up with a big picture explanation of personal growth, I realized that I was neglecting my own life and growth. So I decided, there and then, to turn my life around. The next day, I had changed my diet and attitude completely. I started following the Primal Blueprint, a low-carb diet. I stopped drinking coffee, tea, soft drinks, and sugary juices. I started walking an hour a day. I stopped eating chocolates and sweets. A few days later, I became an early riser. I felt much more confident in social gatherings. And these are only some changes that I've experienced. We're often told that personal change requires a great deal of commitment and willpower, but from what I've experienced, it was one of the easiest transformations that I've ever experienced, and I attribute it to abandoning my self-image. And this is how I did it. I began by writing a description of what my ideal life would look like. And it's crucial that I focus on visible results. That's because you will never clarify all your thoughts or resolve all your emotions. And if you're not seeing visible results in your life, you're not giving yourself evidence to prove that your self-image isn't real. Telling yourself, I can do it, without seeing results isn't really convincing. Besides, visible results can bring clarity to your thinking. If you've set out a goal to be more productive, it's not clear what that looks like in real life and how you can achieve it. To say that you want to work for only 6 hours a day and have time to spend with family and friends, then you have a more concrete target to work towards. What do you look like in your ideal life? How much weight do you have to gain or lose to look your best? What does an ideal day in your ideal life look like? An ideal week, an ideal month, an ideal year? How will you behave in social gatherings? How will you respond in a crisis? How do you treat your family, your friends, your colleagues, strangers? Don't limit yourself to what you think you're capable of, or how you've behaved in the past. Visualizing your ideal life and how you behave in it will help you abandon your self-image by offering an alternative and motivation to pursue that alternative. Remember, this is your ideal life, so it matters to you. Once you've clarified what your ideal life looks like, you can draw your attention to what I'd like to call the success triangle. The three components of the success triangle are knowledge, skill, and action. The success triangle aims to shift your focus towards the factors that matter for success and to recognize your ability to grow rather than judge yourself based on the labels you've placed on yourself. Have you noticed how we conclude that we can never do something before we try, or give up too prematurely because we think we're not good at it? There's a natural law that states, before you know, you don't, and before you can, you can't. The success triangle begins by acknowledging what your existing knowledge and skills are so that you can improve on them to reach your goals. You don't evaluate yourself, but objectively evaluate your knowledge, skills, and the actions you take. This way, you accept the fact that you aren't confined to your existing abilities and aren't offended to discover what they are because you know you can improve on them. And by knowing what your current abilities are, you can adjust your expectations accordingly. When you begin to learn how to draw, you shouldn't expect that you'll produce the next Mona Lisa. You realize that you'll be making lots of mistakes, and that's okay, because it's only natural. If you don't know what you're doing or aren't good at doing it, you'll be making mistakes. Let's look at a couple of examples of how the success triangle can be used. I was absolutely clueless about how video blogging can be done, and never thought in a million years that I'd be posting videos of myself on my blog. It was a distant hope that I never thought I'd realize. I was afraid of what people might think about my videos and how amateurish they'll be. The success triangle got me to focus on advancing my knowledge and skills by taking action. I looked into what equipment I would need to use and was very comfortable to acknowledge that I didn't understand much of the terminology being used. I wasn't the one being judged, but I was admitting my ignorance and working to increase my knowledge. I decided to begin shooting simple videos without any fancy schmancy effects, not even subtitles or transitions, so I can be at ease with the learning experience, without overwhelming myself with too much information or high expectations. My viewers should be able to tell that my videos are amateurish because I'm new to this. I expect to get some negative feedback, and that's okay, if not useful. I accept that I still have a lot to learn and that I'll soon find the process much easier as my skills develop. I find some social gatherings intimidating. I don't know how to begin a conversation, and my Arabic isn't all that great. But rather than acknowledge that I'll be making mistakes while speaking Arabic, I used to avoid speaking in the hope of avoiding embarrassment. With the success triangle, I acknowledge my existing knowledge and skills, and instead of avoiding social gatherings, I aim to make the most of them. I listen to others and see what sort of issues they bring up to talk about, and try to express my own views and notice what I struggle with. So what does your ideal life look like? Give it some thought and write down a description of your ideal life. Then, use the success triangle to inch your way towards your ideal without judging yourself, but seeking to expand your knowledge, refine your skills, and taking the steps necessary to reach your goals. If you found this video useful, then I have a tiny request. Please share it with your family, friends, fans, and followers on Facebook, Twitter, by email, on your blog, or whichever way you connect with those you care about. Thanks for watching.